Welcome everybody to the latest EOcafe. Today we're going to be talking about skills and the generation of skills for the sector. Just as a normal reminder, normal rules for anybody who's not familiar. Please keep your microphones on mute unless I specifically ask you to join us in posing a question. You're very welcome to keep your cameras on. We can see you that way, and we can relate to you. It's nice to see people, but that's up to you. If you've got a question, then just pop it into the chat, and then as we get to that point of the afternoon, I'll ask you to give your question if we decide to take it. You can use the chat for inputting or providing information as well. So if there's a website or a piece of news that you want to put in, then you can use the chat for that as well. As it says there, the webinar will be recorded, so you can go back and listen to any bits again if you miss them, or for those who are not with us, they of course can catch up later. So hopefully everyone's got a cup of tea or coffee, or at least a glass of water next to them, and let's get going. So today we want to talk about skills. The business of space is growing quite well. It's currently at about between 5 and 10% a year. Some would say faster. I've seen higher figures. The Earth survey of the EO services sector shows a compound growth over the last 5 years of around 7.5%. That includes a negative year in 2021 when there was the COVID crisis, and that hit some business. So 2020 was COVID, and that hit some businesses in 2021. So generally, I would say the growth is closer to 10% than 5%. Now, that's growth in revenues. Growth also requires people. And the growth in employment has been reported as even higher. In our survey, we see a compound growth of 14%. Now, this is good because it indicates a strong confidence in the future, that people are prepared, companies are prepared to recruit, and the revenues will follow. Now, these are figures coming from the industrial sector, from the companies. And some years ago, we did a survey. We estimated how many people would be employed in the sector in total. So not just the industry, but also public institutions, universities, research centres, and where we found that the commercial sector represented around 40% of the total. So that means that there are around 35,000 employees in the EO services sector, and that's a lot of skills to develop and maintain. Especially as they're changing very rapidly. The sector's changing rapidly, the digital world is changing rapidly, and the skills needed are changing. In the same survey, we find that 90% of companies report some difficulty in recruiting people with the right skills, that is, and that 50% say they face significant difficulties in recruiting the right skills. So we can see the issue that we're going to talk about today. And of course, recognizing this situation, which of course includes not just the services sector, but the upstream sector as well, the Commission kicked off a skills strategy for Earth observation, and it was more broadly focused on geospatial skills. This was a project, the EO4Geo project, that Earth was part of. It ran for 30 months, finished around 18 months ago. Milva can correct me if I've got any of those facts wrong. And based on its findings, a more general move to develop skills in Europe, that I'm happy that we have Mavi to explain some of the policy issues there. A new partnership has been developed, the Space for Geo large-scale partnership, and that's in essence what we're going to be talking about today. And to do that, we have two guests very closely involved in this process. Mavi, so Maria Vittoria Dinzeo from the Commission, and Milva Carbonaro from GZIG. And maybe to start off with, I ask Mavi and Milva just to introduce themselves, rather than me reading out a sort of rather contrived bio and everything else, which I always find very embarrassing when people are reading those out on the stage. So I let you speak yourselves.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you for your invitation, for inviting the Commission in this very interesting EOcafe. My name is Maria Vittoria Dinzeo, Mavi. People always refer to me as Mavi. I work for the European Commission since I've been working since 2017. We've had a lot of restructuring as part of the with the coming of the new Commission. Now the space units have been regrouped under the Directorate General in charge of defense, industry, and space. And my unit specifically is in charge of the entrepreneurship, new space, and space defense dossier. And as part of this, also research and innovation, of course, and competitiveness and skills is obviously one of the core tasks. And I am in charge of the dossier for a few years now, and have also followed closely the EO4Geo project. And now what we're trying to do is to transition this initiative forward as the new Commission policy evolve and the new needs from society and from industry arise, as far as skills are concerned.
Great. So you're a great person to have with us today to explain what's happening. Now Milva, please, you were well. Let me not jump the gun. Please, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Geoff. Thank you for organizing this session today. I'm Milva Carbonaro. I'm the coordinator of the GZIG Association, which is a sectoral university enterprise association born already in 1992. Originally only focusing, let's say, on geographical information systems technology, but then along these 30 years, following the evolution both of technology and economic society. And in the recent year, we have been the coordinators of the mentioned EO4Geo project, from where the large-scale skills partnership Space4Geo was promoted, and which I have the honor to coordinate right now. My background is not very technical, because I'm more on one side economic, on the other side humanistic person, but I'm very passionate about the space sector, and let's say trying to do our best here to promote skills development to serve industry of the sector.
Okay, I'll come to you in a moment, and it just struck me, maybe it would be worth saying a few words about the findings from coming out of EOcafe. But maybe we come to that. Milva, I'm sorry, Mavi.
Still with them.
No, I'm easily confused.
Almost there.
I do apologize. Mavi, could you perhaps just give us some of the background to the policy context here? Why is the Commission getting involved here, and what are the priorities, and what are you trying to achieve?
Yes. So obviously, maybe I will start with a bit more general, and then go through the specificities of space. I mean, especially in this commission, the von der Leyen Commission, skills has been always very much on top of this Commission agenda. And we've been seeing that already at the starting of the COVID crisis, because in the middle of the pandemic, the Commission adopted a skills agenda, an updated skills agenda, which is transversal, focusing on upskilling and reskilling horizontally, without singling out specific sectors. Okay, which is an update of the 2016 skills agenda that led to the creation of sectoral skills cooperation, such as the blueprint on that EO4Geo, the project, was focusing on, as you said also, but targeting specifically the Earth observation and geospace information sector. So, as I said, in 2020, an updated skills agenda was adopted that foresaw a number of flagship action. Most importantly, in this case, was the Pact for Skills, which is a broad, high-level initiative aiming to allow cooperation and joining forces among all stakeholders involved in upskilling and reskilling, both from the producers to the end, from the receivers end. So joining forces across, for example, academia, vet centers, vocational and training centers, industry, public institution, local organization, and so on and so forth, to join forces and address the skills gap altogether. As part of the how is this Pact for Skills implemented? It is implemented through large-scale skills partnership that are sectorial. Okay, and of course the skills agenda was very much related also to the industrial policy that was adopted afterwards, which let's say organized the industry in 14 ecosystems. Okay, now our ecosystem, the ecosystem where space is part, it's the aerospace and defense ecosystem. And since the creation of since the launch of this updated skills agenda and the launch of the Pact for Skills that was happening November 2020, so far 18 sectorial large-scale skill partnerships have been launched, okay, in various sectors. Okay, so in our ecosystem we have launched 2 large-scale skill partnership. One was launched immediately in 2018 in November, which was the aerospace and defense large-scale partnership. But and then most recently this year, actually now on 25th of April, we also launched the Space4Geo partnership that I hope Milva, well, for sure she will be telling us much more about. So I don't want to spoil anything. I just maybe one final remark. Obviously, we invested very much into the creation of this partnership because we believed very much, first of all, into EO4Geo. However, when EO4Geo was created, we were still in, let's say, the old configuration where we had various space programs. We had Copernicus, we had Galileo. Okay. Obviously, with the creation with the adoption of a single space program, we have to evolve towards having a unified skill partnership that is able to address, all the skills need for the whole ecosystem. So that's why we, including, of course, as I said at the beginning, including to address new needs from society and from the sector itself. In fact, where we announced the creation of the Space4Geo partnership for covering mainly all the downstream, let's say, the downstream segment, so space services, data and application, was the recently adopted space strategy for security and defense, precisely because we believe that space is able to, give an added value and to serve virtually and potentially all sectors of society, including the security and defense one. So, voilà, that's all from me. Maybe unless you have some questions.
No, we'll come back to to go into more detail in that. But I want to sort of drill down a little bit. But before we can do that, we need to sort of have a picture of what the large-scale partnership is, what the Space4Geo partnership is. Milva, perhaps you could help us understand that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Geoff and Mavi. Yes, as Mavi was saying, the Space for Geo was launched officially on the 25th of April this year, with strong support by DG DEFIS and of course DG Employment, which is the main manager of the Pet for Skills initiative. And it comes out from a long, let's say, process of collaborative building, let's say, of the partnership, based on which was on the results which erased from the EO4Geo project. Already within the first skills agenda for Europe, as Mavi said, the blueprint projects were foreseen to support skills development in specific sector. And one of the main outcomes that the Commission was expecting from this kind of project for the different sectors was the release of a very comprehensive sector skill strategy, which would in principle enable the different stakeholders to take concrete actions targeting, let's say, a time objective of 3 to 5 to 10 years. Where do we want to be in 3 to 5 to 10 years regarding skills development? Of course, this is quite ambitious program, which cannot be, let's say, implemented by a single organization, not even by a single project, not even by single initiatives. So what is the rationale, or in my opinion, one of the main rationale behind the large-scale skills partnership is really to pool expertise, to pool resources around a specific sector. So having on board all different stakeholders from academia, from vet providers, industry, big players, but mostly all SMEs as well, sectoral organizations like ERSC, for instance, who has been a very active member of EO4Geo before and is now a very active member of the Space for Geo large-scale skills partnership. So I would like to, let's say, give emphasis to this concept, Space for Geo, and in general, as large-scale skills partnership is not a project, is not a single initiative performing specific activities, but it's something broader with a big ambitions to guide skills development and support European policies for skills development in the specific sector of space, downstream, and geoinformation, by putting together the efforts of all different actors. And in fact, in this sense, we have not only a quite wide partnership already, signing subscribing the manifesto of the partnership since the very beginning, which counts more than 50 organizations from 14 European countries. And again, these organizations are higher education institutions, companies, research bodies, sectoral associations, and so on. But we are also continuously looking for collaboration with other initiatives in the field. So to have all of them collaborating together and avoiding duplication of efforts, but let's say promoting complementary initiatives. In that sense, we are already concluding agreements for collaboration, for instance, for the Universe project, which is a European University Alliance acting in the space sector already since the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years. They have been recently renewed within the Erasmus Plus program, and we are going to sign a memorandum of understanding with them to support each other with activities of mutual interest. And this is true also for other projects which are presently active in the space sector. Space for Geo was born mainly to address the downstream segment of the space economy, not only Earth observation, which is maybe the major interest for today, of course, but also the other components of the space program, as Mavi was saying. But of course, since let's say the distinction between so-called upstream and downstream, in some cases it's becoming more fluid, let's say. Space for Geo as partnership does not exclude also some activities specifically related to skills for the upstream segment. But it's true, for now, we are more focused on the three components of the space program for the downstream segment of space economy. Well, I don't know if I managed to give the general framework of the partnership. Of course, it's too wide maybe to describe with few sentences.
Well, hopefully, as we carry on discussing that, will help develop the picture. And I think the challenge here is going to be to keep a reasonably coherent thread in the discussion, because I wanted to pick you up on one point, but it may be a bit early in the conversation, but I'm going to do it anyway. You talked about cooperating and signing an MOU with another initiative. What does that mean? What does that bring to each other? What will be the result of that agreement?
Yeah, well, of course, while establishing this collaboration, we identified within the sectoral skill strategy that forms the basis of the objectives of Space for Geo as large-scale skills partnership. We identified those objectives which were more in line with the, let's say, objectives and ambitions and expectation of the Universe initiative, which is more focused on, let's say, academic education. No? So we identified in particular, in that case, two fields of collaboration, which concerns, on one side, the support in identifying what is the available offer in terms of training and education in Europe for the space sector.
Okay.
And this on one side. On the other side, the collaboration for the development of new training material or new educational offer, but not only for, let's say, students enrolled in universities, but also for activities performed by the universities, members of Universe, regarding upskilling and reskilling of the current workforce, which is a need that also the University Alliance perceive very well as critical, as of great importance to be addressed nowadays in the sectors. So they are trying to go out of, let's say, the usual collaboration in instructional design, let's say, and in providing joint educational curricula, but they also want to be equipped to provide other type of training to professionals needing to upskill and reskill, because they know, as we do, that this is a big request by industry at the moment.
If I may, Jeff, so because we're talking about Universe, okay, which essentially, what is it? It's a university alliance. It's a European university. So, and the concept and the initiative of European university alliances is again coming from the European Skills Agenda.
Okay.
It's one of the other flagship with the Pact for Skills, but it was already. What is it? Essentially, is the objective of the European University is to create the universities of the future. where you have alliances and basically university located in different countries across the union joining and joining into an alliance and trying to build joint curricula, joint processes to share best practices and to facilitate mobility also of students, mobility of teaching as well, and sharing best practices. And we and so far, I think there are around over 40 European university alliances that have been launched throughout the course of the past years. And in the space sector, we have the lack, okay, of having a dedicated European University Alliance that is focused specifically on the thematic of space.
Okay.
You can have alliances on any sector or regional alliances, but this one, the University, it's focusing primarily on space. In fact, it regroups various universities across Europe that have or that already offer space curricula.
Right. So this is under a university umbrella.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
encouraging universities which are teaching or wanting to provide courses relating to space upstream and downstream,
yes,
I presume.
Yes.
To meet, to understand what each is doing, and to learn from each other.
To join forces, exactly. And obviously, this is a project. Once again, university is a project still funded by the Erasmus Plus, as it is the case. It was the case for EO4Geo. And our really what we have at heart at Commission is that all the projects that we have here and there that have a space focus communicate and build bridges among each other. Why? Because and this is again the ultimate objective. If we want to build the next generation of skilled professionals, we need to be able we need all actors to come together. And because again, having just the industry saying yes, but we need this and we need that, it's not enough. They need to be able to communicate their needs to academia, to VEC trainees, because they are the ones that are involved in upskilling and in reskilling. So they need to be faced with the right interlocutors, because if they come to us and they tell us this is our needs, yes, we will be able to support, but we are not a training provider. The academias are, the vet centers are.
So the role for Space for Geo is to try to bring those different actors together to exchange, to understand what the needs of each type of partner are, and to help develop.
Indeed. And one of the, I think, the benefits of is also having many new space companies already part, and the fact that also ERSC is representing mainly, let's say, a new, a vibrant community of newcomers. I think it's important because ultimately the challenges that smaller companies and startups and SMEs face in hiring skilled people is maybe sometimes higher with respect to the well-established players.
So I was going to say, it's not just newcomers, but small companies.
Yes,
because
indeed.
A company is not seeing an immediate benefit from the partnership. It's much more longer term goals.
Yes.
I can see the large players getting involved in that as part of their own human development function, but for small companies that would be too far off and too obtuse.
Again, the idea is really to have everybody sitting around the table, the established players and the new
around
ones.
The table.
Yes, exactly.
But certainly, as far as the services sector is concerned, that an appropriate role for ERSC to fill and to bring the view of the smaller companies that can't expend the energy to participate themselves, but are dependent on having the new skills.
Indeed,
there.
Also because, I mean, for the smaller actor, when you have to hire someone, obviously you invest resources to the training of a new person, and knowing that, you know, maybe in 2-3 years time, the person could go to a bigger company. So it will be an investment with very little return.
Yeah. Well, it's always a risk.
Yes. Yeah. And then again, I would say for the downstream sector, an additional challenge is having professionals that are capable of using space-based data services and application to other sectors. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the insurance.
Okay, so there's a network of these partnerships.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
Yes.
If I may.
Yes, please.
If I may add on a comment by Geoff regarding the, let's say, the advantages, the immediate advantages for small companies to participate in the partnership. It's true that maybe the bigger advantages will be indirectly in the medium long term, but still in the partnership we have many small medium-sized enterprises, and the reason why they join basically is not only to be part, let's say, have the possibility to sit around the same table, also sometimes with big players or representative of the institutions as the Commission in this case and so on. But also as a smaller, really direct, immediate advantages, they can have access through the promotion of project work, of internships, or even a recruitment offer within the partnership. They can have access to talents they need. So indeed, there is the bigger advantage will be released or achieved later on, but still they can take advantages even in a shorter term. And for sure, those who are joined the partnership so far are probably seeing the big picture in their let's say also ambition and growth as company. So they like to sit around the same table with other players.
Okay, I'm trying to develop this picture. In terms of sitting around the table, you said you had 50 organizations which are now members of the partnership. Yeah. What's the sort of what organizations, not names, but what types, and what sort of balance do you have in the partnership?
Yeah, we have higher education institutions. We have small, medium-sized enterprise. We have research centers in a lower percentage. Let's say maybe they are less. And we have vet providers. We have sectoral organizations like ERSC, for instance. Well, this is more or less the typology of organizations. And also we have some regional authorities What in our specific case, in the specific case of Space4Geo, is missing so far, but we are working towards this direction, is to attract big players.
Yeah.
Big players, which are also, by the way, among the members of ERSC, and were already involved in the, let's say, earlier large-scale skills partnership under the ecosystem aerospace and defense that was promoted in a certain way, top-down by already in November 2020 at the launch of the Pet for Skills initiative. So many of the big players are there. And the reason, there is a reason for that is that, of course, this came in the middle of the COVID crisis. and where the let's say civil aeronautic sector had been highly affected by the COVID crisis. And this sector is, let's say, part of the big ecosystem aerospace and defense. So that's why it was considered by the Commission as a priority to directly promote this large-scale skills partnership. And it is difficult to attract also to our partnership those big players already participating in the other one, which is maybe more close to their business, more close also to manufacturing and so on. So we are working in this direction also to allow from a technical point of view that same organizations can be partner of both, let's say, umbrella partnership. And of course it goes.
Is there any reason why they can't be?
Pardon?
Is there any reason why they can't be part of?
No, now
partnership
it's just a merely technical reason. I mean, once you apply on the Pet for Skills portal for a large-scale skills partnership, it is a bit tricky to mark your interest into or even more. And so this
technical
something really technical.
Sounds like quite an important one to.
Well, I mean, it's going to get. It's about to be fixed.
It's about to be fixed. Yes.
I mean, I think this was mainly to ensure complementarity and avoid also duplication. But but this is what we also and always said also in the communication that we adopted, where we were announcing the creation of the second large-scale partnership within the aerospace defense ecosystem. We always wanted the two partnerships to communicate with each other, obviously, because the actors, I mean, we have, and Milva was saying it also before, nowadays the next distinction between upstream and downstream is getting more and more clear. It's because you have, of course, companies and players that are involved both in upstream and downstream. So that's why it makes sense that that the same actor is part of both, and it will be the case very soon.
Yeah, and in any case, in the manifesto of Space for Geo, we stated that the collaboration with the other large-scale partnership for the, let's say, more on the upstream side is absolutely one of our priorities. So,
well, this, indeed. I mean, this is where it seems to me important that in taking account of the services industry, that's fed into the right channels, and if there's cross-fertilization, then that should certainly be the case. It's probably not just a question of upstream either, but some of the application sectors are also directly relevant. What are you looking for from the large-scale partnership? What are your? I could be so precise, say what are the KPIs, but what are you looking for?
KPIs, that's another story. Maybe we leave it for the next cafe, because obviously there are some high-level KPIs that have also been defined as part of the manifesto of the Space for Geo partnership. But ultimately, the way we see the partnership is really to have a platform where it's, let's say, like an entry point that for us obviously facilitates the exchange, because in one single entry point we're able to have an audience, a rich of hopefully a more and more richer audience, so that we can with which we can communicate and we can make also informed decision from policy side. So for example, we have already announced, our president announced the the adoption next year of a new communication on space data economy.
Yeah.
So obviously, as part of the space data economy, an important component is going to have to be skills, because precisely for what we said right now, in the future, if we want a true industry, space data industry that is developed, we are going to need to invest a bit more efforts in creation of skills.
We'll try to address the space data economy when the time is.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure, we must too.
But also because I cannot tell you more.
No, that I understand. So I'm not going to embarrass you by asking questions on it today, but it's just to our audience to say that we will come back and we will tackle that subject.
I was trying to follow that, because there is a Wolfhard.
I was just going to turn to Wolfhard, because he's written an essay in the chat.
Exactly. It was
it's not a question, so maybe it'd be better if he comes and joins us. Wolfhard, do you want to come and sort of express a view and maybe ask a question?
Yeah, I'm glad to. And apologies for writing this essay, but I just couldn't help it. What I believe, and don't get me wrong, I mean, this basically goes back, draws on the experience that I gained over, well, literally decades in the field. When we started out with Earth observation back in when I joined was early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. There we had a totally different approach to developing skills in Earth observation. It wasn't Earth observation for the sake of the sector, but it was developing skills on the engineering side, and actually actively working with engineers and actively working with physicists, with early data scientists, with sensor developers, to build the tools that the application side needed. I mean, when I started out, I came from geosciences, and it was typical fields were, for instance, outside agricultural monitoring or forest monitoring, were radar geology or then climatology, and we were just using Earth observation as a mere tool. This has meanwhile developed into a science and a sector of its own, and I think and when I say I think, from my experience, what I see in practical day-to-day life is that we really lost touch, that each side has lost a touch with the other side. We're having data scientists, we're having people who build space systems. They don't understand what the end user needs and what the in-between downstream industry needs, and the in-between data processing sector and information extractor sector needs. So we're basically working in silos instead of working across the fields as we used to do back in the 80s and 90s, when Earth observation came up and became an operational field. And this is what I wanted to express here with my little essay, and now with my little lecture here, sorry about that again. Is that I think what is needed really is that we develop the skills cross sectors, so we do understand each other again. And this really also goes into the large corporations. The SMEs, the small and medium-sized companies and even startups, they have it a lot easier because they are small enough to work with each other. When you look at large corporations, I don't want to name any large company, but when you look at the space systems branch, they just go ahead on their own because, yes, they also see the big dollar signs from building new satellite, billion euro satellite missions. And there's very little feedback even within the big corporations. And it's not because people don't like to talk to each other. It's basically because it's a little bit awkward for them to start adapting the knowledge to really talk to each other and really understand each other. And I think if we can bridge this gap, we have a huge advantage, and we will have a huge advantage internationally, because having spent the past 20 plus years predominantly in North America, I've seen that North America is going for each hype that's coming up, trying to develop a fast solution, a fast commercialization, but also never doing this kind of system-oriented thinking and understanding each other. So this would be my contribution. And my question would be, of course, is could this be embedded in the skills partnership program to make Europe be a very valuable and able competitor by cross-pollinating?
Yeah. If I may.
Over, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I like very much your essay on the chat. I was trying to read very quickly, because indeed you are touching one which is one of the 5 strategic objectives of the sector skill strategy of Space for Geo. So one of those is exactly to penetrate the other vertical sectors and to provide training in the different disciplines, to provide, I don't know, people study medicine or economics for insurance, which is a sector that Mavi mentioned before, yeah, or whatever, to provide with, let's say, the basic understanding, and maybe also some technical skills to take benefit from the use of the data available and the services available in their own application fields, which is a need that we really identified already within the EO4Geo project, and probably we were not even the first to identify this need, as your intervention clearly shows, by the way. And so yes, this is embedded fully in the strategy. And what the partner should do to make it happen is really to promote joint projects where, let's say, the expert in the specific domain as such contribute to the development of training materials or a short course or whatever for people working or potentially working in the future in other sector, which are let's say the ultimate users of space data and services at the end of the day. I mean, the downstream space sector is a sector at a service to the others. It's not standalone.
Yeah. If I may, just to complement on what Milva has just said, as I mentioned also before, we have 18 large-scale skills partnerships. And the idea is also to facilitate the collaboration of across these 18 partnerships. So, and Milva, you will obviously be able to complement, but Space for Geo is already engaged in a discussion with other partnerships. Yes. Okay, precisely to do that, to address what you just said, Wolfgang. Which is, I couldn't agree more, by the way. We need to
I think it goes
facilitate.
A bit further than just an exchange.
Well, obviously, but it starts with that, and then it continues
as a young engineer. I was a systems engineer. I was a radar engineer and a systems engineer. So I was working on the hardware, but I needed to understand every little facet of what the satellite was doing. The thermal control, the mechanical engineering, the stresses, a very broad field. And I think what we're addressing here, what Wolfhard is addressing, is a sort of a systems thinking ability applied more to services. So that somebody is, but those are skills that really do need to be developed. And they are, because they are, if I dare say it, unusual skills to be able to think broadly. And so I don't know how much that is part of the sort of portfolio of skills that you recognize, but I think it's a very important one.
Yeah, if I may add to this, when I go back to the time, and Jeff, I think you and I are about the same age.
We're fairly close, I think. Yeah.
Sorry to say that, but I mean, when we started out, it was, and I was kind of the last entry year to university where we had this studium generale, which means you had to cover a number of different fields. You had to attend very early during university, actually first year. you had to attend lectures from across the field. You had a certain choice, but you had to get a broad scope. And if we now try to use the same system, maybe that's an idea to embed this in academic education when we go into, let's say, data scientists, for instance, to make them, if you start out with electrical engineering, computer sciences, that you have to have the first semester or the first 2 semesters where you have to cover different disciplines of application-oriented fields, application-oriented sciences. So you know what these guys really need. So I think this would broaden the horizon. And if you keep on doing this throughout your lifetime, you'll probably be a universal expert.
By the way, thank you, Wolfhard, for all your, let's say, suggestions. I've seen in the chat also another suggestion from
Dimitrios, I think.
Yes, this is very interesting. So, like recruiting companies, this is very interesting and useful also for a fundamental activity that Space4Geo as partnership, but not only Space4Geo, but also the different projects working on skills development have to do, which is the monitoring of the demand for skills and also the evolution of this, the monitoring of the evolution of this demand for skills. In this sense, indeed, we are being in contact right now with one of these companies. And I regret they weren't on board before, because they would have been very beneficial for new projects, a new project that we, by the way, recently obtained within the partnership. And but yes, thank you, Dimitrios, because this is definitely one of the way to go to really monitor skills demand in the economic sector, which is very much related also to other vertical sector, and which is also according to different findings from different initiatives, much also concerning what is called soft skills and transversal skills that should be, let's say, more promoted more through, let's say, cooperation among different actors. Typically, cooperation university enterprise in with project work rather than internship, which form an integral part of the curriculum. It's a great way to really acquire non-technical skills which are really in demand in the labor market, for instance.
So Dimitrios, I don't know if you want to comment further. You're working for in the EO services sector, or are you working in a different sector?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, very clearly.
Yes, sorry for jumping in. I work for the Commission HADEA, is an executive agency,
Okay.
and I'm an Earth observation sector myself. I used to work for Planetech years ago.
Okay.
They're part of your consortium.
You know them well.
So now I'm dealing with Horizon projects on Earth observation and mining. I'm in the raw material sector. And we're talking about the skills to be developed. And I see clearly what Wolfhard said. The sectors do not talk to each other. So we have the mining sector that they want to develop the skills of the future, and they want to implement the Earth observation services. But what is often missing is the sector that knows and develops the services to go and talk to either a consultancy company or a mining company or any potential end user to say, I can provide you this. Do you find this useful? And how can I help you so as to sell the service at the end? And what I'm saying is that if you bring in a company that staffs other companies, I put the random example like Randstad, and ask them how many requests you have for the Earth observation experts and in which sectors, because there is always a problem of finding high level and qualified people. Yeah. If they're part of any consortium, they will give a direct feedback, because they do searches in LinkedIn. They have all the curriculums that the universities also do, but not in that extent as a business development tool. So these companies might give us an insight information of how the sector is developing and what are the real needs. So that will be a feedback to the universities to say, I'm searching for 10 mining engineering with Earth observation tools. I'm searching for 50 Earth observation consultants in insurance companies that are dealing with landslides. So that was my point. And sorry for jumping in. And thank you for the interesting conversation you're having.
The goal is exactly that, and welcome to have you, and thank you for your comments. It sounds a very interesting suggestion to me. I don't know how if that's sort of seen as part of the partnership, or if the partnership is able to do something to enable that process. What do you think, Milva? Milva?
Yeah, as I was saying, we are already in contact with one of these companies, not one of these most famous, but still a recruitment consultancy company. And the idea is to involve them in new initiatives where they will have, let's say, direct involvement when it comes to monitoring of demand of skills. I believe also that it is always, let's say, in the process of growing the partnership, there are always the pioneers, you know. So we, in my opinion, having on board this company will open the way to other similar companies to join. And by the way, I believe it will happen the same once we reach out to one or two big players in our partnership. The others maybe will come.
Okay,
it's a multiplier effect, you know.
Good. Maybe as we're finishing and I'm wrapping up, you could put a link into the chat for anybody who's interested to know more and who's interested maybe even to join the partnership. As I understand it's there's a portal.
Of course, there is a portal. Yes, and of course, new partners are always welcome to join Space for Geo, right? Well, Milva is also very actively coordinating. Yes, and we try also to disseminate and build bridges also every occasion that we can. We try to also encourage other actors to potentially join, because ultimately Space for Geo is also a platform that is also able to facilitate a partnership among partners. And a good example of this is precisely the project that Milva was referring to, that will be kicked off in the upcoming months, through which some current members of the partnership got together and made a proposal for a project that has been also retained for funding as part of the Erasmus Plus program. And will be launched, Milva, maybe next year, right? Beginning of next year.
Yeah, it will start officially on the 1st of January and will last 4 years as the other, as the usual duration of blueprint projects.
So obviously, but we would like to have more, because obviously blueprint, it has a specific objective. It's the development of a large of a long-term strategy, long-term action plan, and so on. Develop of some pilot activities, but then the work of upskilling and reskilling, needs to be done the sooner the better. And if we have partners already exchanged with one another and doing the actual work of upskilling, doing trainings, offering internships, and so on, developing curricula together, this is what we're going to need. And I see the partnership contributing to these efforts.
Okay, there are a number of things that we could develop further. There's a scheme in the UK. I don't know if it exists elsewhere, which is exactly about placing internships and trying to take students and find them a home for a certain period of time. I tried to pull some of that into Europe, but it was too complicated to do. But there is a scheme, and I imagine there are similar schemes elsewhere. I think we need to draw a close there. If either of you have any last, really last minute messages, or otherwise,
I think I already did my last minute.
Thank you, Bavi.
Thank you,
and thank you,
for
Milva. Thank you very much
invitation.
for being with us. And I hope it's now a bit clearer to people what this Space for Geo partnership is about, what maybe they can get out of it. But please go and look further if you're interested, and we'll hopefully have a link. If not, we'll distribute it with the notes after the meeting.
I put the link in the chat with my also email address, so anybody is welcome to get in touch to know more. Maybe I can send also documents and so on, whatever.
There you go.
The partnership is open.
There's the invitation, and we'll send that around with the notes as well, so that people who haven't participated but have registered. We had a very strong registration for this, but it seems a lot of people have not joined.
Not connected.
So we will make that available along with the slides that you provided. So that will give more meat for people if they wish. So again, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you
it's
very
been
much.
A very nice discussion.
Thank you very much, Geoff and Ersk, for organizing this session.
Good, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of the afternoon to everybody.
Maybe we'll see you on the Space Data Economy.
Yes, maybe.
So just to announce, the next EOcafe will be in 2 weeks' time. So that's Thursday, the 30th of November, always at the same time at 4 o'clock. And we're going to have a very interesting EOcafe. It's a subject that has come up before. We've talked about it in the EOcafe before, but we want to talk about data spaces. And maybe people switch off at hearing data spaces, but others are getting very agitated about what data spaces are. Some people are seeing competition emerging in the data space. There's a Copernicus data space being talked about. There's a space data space being talked about. There are a lot of data spaces potentially out there. And so what's going on? So we're going to have a discussion around it, and we're going to try even a slightly different format, because I will have a co-host for talking about data spaces, and we will have a number of guests, experts in different parts of the subject. So some people see it as a big opportunity, some people see it as a threat. So which is it? We'll try to address that and discuss it next time. So come and join us, usual place, usual time, in 2 weeks' time. There you go. Thank you very much.